Thomas stood frozen at the top of the lighthouse, listening to the scratching below. It was methodical, rhythmic, like something testing the stone, finding purchase, climbing higher. He grabbed the journal from the desk and flipped to Marcus Webb's entries, searching for anything that might help him understand what was happening. One entry stood out. The fog protects them. When it rolls in, they come closer. They can move on land in the fog. Without it, they stay in the water. Never go outside when the fog comes. Thomas looked out the window. The ocean was clear, no fog. That meant whatever was climbing couldn't reach him. Not yet. But the scratching continued, patient and persistent, like it had all the time in the world. He needed to know what he was dealing with. Thomas descended the spiral stairs, moving carefully, trying not to make noise. At the ground level, he approached the door. The scratching was clearer now. Deep, deliberate gouges being carved into stone. Whatever was out there had claws strong enough to cut rock. There was a small porthole window beside the door, thick glass with salt spray crusted on the outside. Thomas wiped away the moisture from the inside and looked out. At first, he saw nothing, just black rock and darker water. Then something moved. A shape, clinging to the lighthouse wall about 10 feet off the ground. It was roughly humanoid, but wrong in every way that mattered. Too long. Too thin. Its limbs bent at angles that shouldn't be possible. Its skin, if you could call it that, was pale and slick, like something that had never seen sunlight. As Thomas watched, it turned its head toward the porthole. Toward him. It had no eyes, just smooth skin where eyes should be. But somehow, impossibly, Thomas knew it was looking directly at him. It opened its mouth. The jaw unhinged, dropping far lower than any human jaw should, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. And then it made a sound, not quite a scream, not quite a song. Something that made Thomas's bones ache and his vision blur. He stumbled backward, away from the porthole. The thing couldn't get in. The door was solid oak, 3 inches thick. The windows were too small for it to fit through. He was safe inside. The scratching stopped. Thomas waited, listening. The wind, the waves, nothing else. Had it left. He approached the porthole again, looked out. The creature was gone. Relief flooded through him, followed immediately by a worse thought. If it wasn't on the wall anymore, where was it? A sound from above. From the beacon room. Something scraping against glass. Thomas ran up the spiral stairs, taking them 2 at a time. The beacon room. The windows up there were larger. If the thing could reach that high, if it could break through the glass, he burst into the beacon room and stopped. The creature was there, pressed against the outside of the windows, its pale form illuminated by the rotating beacon. But it wasn't alone. There were 3 of them now, all clinging to the outside of the lighthouse like grotesque insects, their mouths opening and closing in silent song. The glass creaked under their weight. Old glass. Ancient glass. Glass that had weathered 100 years of storms but had never been tested by something pushing from the outside. A crack appeared in one of the panes. Small. Hairline. But growing. Thomas grabbed the emergency flare gun from the wall mount. He'd never been much for weapons, but the flares burned at over 2,000 degrees. If these things were vulnerable to anything, it would be heat. He aimed at the cracked window and fired. The flare burst through the glass, striking the creature directly. It shrieked, that same bone, aching sound, and fell backward, plummeting toward the rocks below. The other 2 creatures scattered, climbing down and disappearing into the water. Thomas rushed to the broken window, careful to avoid the jagged glass. Below, he could see the creature that had fallen. It lay on the rocks, burning from the flare. Its body convulsed once, twice, and then went still. Steam rose from its corpse as the rain began to fall, and with the rain came the fog. It rolled in from the ocean like a living thing, thick and gray and moving far too fast. Within minutes, the lighthouse was surrounded, visibility reduced to a few feet. Thomas watched in horror as the dead creature on the rocks began to move again. It stood, its burned skin already healing, and slipped back into the water. The radio crackled. "Keeper, you hurt one of us. That wasn't very friendly." Thomas grabbed the radio. What do you want?" "We are what's always been here. Long before your kind built this tower. Long before your ship sailed these waters. We are the deep. We are the cold. We are what waits beneath." "Why are you attacking me?" The voice on the radio laughed. It wasn't a human laugh. "We're not attacking you, Keeper. We're calling you. The lighthouse isn't meant to guide ships. It's meant to guide us. To bring us close. And when the Keeper is ready, when he's stayed long enough, he becomes part of the light." "Part of us?" Thomas looked at the beacon, rotating steadily, sending its beam out into the fog. The previous Keepers. What happened to them? Some ran, like the last one. Cowards. But most stayed, most accepted their purpose. We're patient, keeper. We can wait. The fog will clear eventually. And when it does, you'll still be here. You'll still be alone. And eventually, you'll want to join us. Because the ocean is vast, keeper. And isolation is the coldest thing of all. The radio went dead. Thomas looked out at the fog. He could see shapes moving in it now. Dozens of them, circling the lighthouse, waiting. He descended to the living quarters and barricaded the door with furniture. Then he went through the supplies, taking inventory. 3 months of food. Plenty of water. He could survive until the supply boat came. He just had to outlast them. Had to resist the isolation. Had to keep his mind intact. But as the night wore on, as the fog pressed against the windows like something alive, Thomas found himself drawn to the beacon room. Found himself staring out at the lights in the water. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Hypnotic. And as he watched them, he felt something change inside him. A thought that wasn't entirely his own. A whisper in the back of his mind. Join us, keeper. The water is cold, but you'll never be alone again. Thomas shook his head, trying to clear it. He was stronger than this. He'd survived losing his family. He could survive this. But the voice came again, softer, kinder. Your family. They're here. In the water. We saved them from the crash. They're waiting for you. Don't you want to see them again? Thomas's breath caught. The crash. The accident that took his wife and daughter. They'd been on a boat. A storm had come up suddenly. They'd never found the bodies. Lies? Thomas whispered. You're lying. Look at the water, keeper. Look at the lights. See for yourself. Against every instinct, Thomas looked. And in the lights, impossibly, he saw faces. His wife, his daughter. Smiling, reaching for him, he took a step toward the stairs. Toward the door. Toward the water. And then he stopped. Because he remembered something his daughter had said right before the accident. Right before the storm hit. Dad, why do the lights look wrong? The same words Marcus Webb had written in the journal. The light was wrong. Thomas looked at the beacon. Really looked at it. The mechanism was old, yes. But there was something else. Something carved into the metal housing. Symbols. Old symbols. Not English, not any language Thomas recognized. He grabbed the journal, flipped through it frantically. Found a page where a keeper from 1947 had drawn the same symbols. These marks were on the beacon when I arrived. I tried to remove them, but they always return. It's like they're part of the metal itself. Part of the design. I think they're meant to do something. To call something. God help me, I think the lighthouse was built for this purpose. Thomas understood now. The lighthouse wasn't here to save ships. It was here to lure them. To bring them close to whatever lived in these waters. And every keeper who stayed, every keeper who gave in to the isolation and the voices, became part of the beacon's power. Became part of the light. The fog outside was lifting. Dawn was coming. The creatures would retreat to the water. Thomas had survived the night, but he had 2 months and 3 weeks until the supply boat returned. 2 months and 3 weeks of fighting the voices. The isolation. The terrible knowledge that his family's faces were being used to lure him to his death. And as the sun rose over Sentinel Rock, Thomas made a decision. He wasn't going to wait for rescue. He was going to destroy the beacon.